Hello, my city people. Welcome to another episode of the Capital City Podcast here on Repower 100.5 FM. It is your host, Sadat Anissa Sharif. I know that last week we weren't able to air due to some technicalities. So today we are going to bring the topic we were meant to have last week. And that topic is the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. In as much as we are in the beautiful month of July, Happy New Month once again, we are still going to revisit the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which was last month, the month of June. And of course, in the studio, I have a distinguished guest who is fit and proper to discuss about this awesome topic. So sit back, relax, as I'll introduce my guest very soon. See ya! Okay, my city people, like I said, this is another amazing episode of the Capital City Podcast, and our topic is the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And of course, in the studio, I have the MD, CEO of Serenity Royale Hospital, Dr. K Adeshina. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
How are you feeling today? Happy New Month to you.
Yeah, great. Same to you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. So, sir, like you know, we have a very important topic. It's about our men. It is our men, our beautiful men, our honorable men. We need to talk about their men's mental health. So I'm going straight into the first question. Sir, why do men act like I'm fine is a medical diagnosis even when they are clearly not okay?
Okay, thank you very much. You know, the I'm fine syndrome among men could be traced back to psychosocial beliefs.
Okay.
You know, there's a social expectation, what is expected of a man. And this is not even when the man has grown up to become a man, even from childhood. If you see a boy child at 3 crying, everybody says, why are you crying like a girl? You should be a boy, you should be a man.
Yeah.
Are you not a man? So that goes into the subconsciousness of this child, and then it tries to mask his pain, hide his emotions, and not as expressive as the female gender. And then, of course, we know that statistics has shown that even the rate of suicide is higher among men.
Yes.
Because men will not seek attention, they will not seek medical help, they will not seek even social or psychological support until their illness or their disorder has really progressed.
Sir, many men believe asking for help is a sign of weakness. Where did that mindset come from, and how dangerous is it? Because I know you made mention it started from when they were growing up. Is that really how deep it goes?
Yeah, it's a myth. It's a myth that I think people forget that we are humans, whether male or female, depending on whatsoever gender we have. We are first humans because before we become either male or female in the first place. And then we should know that whatsoever thing that happens to the female gender can also happen to the male gender, and responses are similar at the end of the day. But because of our cultural orientation and then even social beliefs, you see people telling, oh, big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
So if you cry, you are a small boy, or if you're weak,
you're
a girl, or they tend to ascribe weakness to the female gender and then strength to the male gender, which is not. It's actually our approach to life. If I'm seeking help or shouting, crying out for help is even a sign of strength. He said, you know, the bravest of soldiers, the ones that knows how to retreat. So most men now need to be taught on how to retreat, because that's what most female gender they do, and it's making them to live longer and live healthier than the male gender. So we need to learn how to retreat and not to surrender.
Because I know that a lot of people don't believe that a problem shared is a problem solved. So which brings to my next question. What are the silent signs that a man is mentally and emotionally exhausted even when he's still going to work and paying bills? Because there are a lot of men listening to this and they'll just think, as long as I'm able to go to work, I'm okay. So what are those signs?
In fact, the more silent the man becomes, the more likelihood of him passing through one psychological disorder or the other. So when the man goes into his shell, that should be a red flag.
Really?
When he's more withdrawn to himself, not expressive at all, not participating in social and family functions, we should be able to, okay, there's time for family picnic. Okay, you people should go with your mother. That should be a red flag. We should know that, beyond having daddy just smiling or moving up and down, is for us to be able to check, is something really wrong? Because he might be facing lot of fire from work or a lot of issues around him that is not able to share with someone. So that's where companionship comes in now, that somebody is able to reach out and say, oh, let me probe further, rather than just assuming that is what men do. So when you see the man progressively becoming withdrawn to himself, not communicative, just becoming muted and going more and more into silence, that should raise a red flag for us. And then, of course, if he's progressively losing interest in previously pleasurable activities, that should be a red flag for us.
So what you are describing is what people tend to idolize as being cool. If you are nonchalant, you're a bad boy, you're cool. But now, from hearing what you're saying, those are signs of red flags that something is mentally wrong with that person. So the next question I have, sir, is it true that men often express depression through anger, irritability, or even staying busy all the time instead of sadness?
Yeah, it's correct, but of course there are two sides to every coin. There are always two sides of the coin. Of course, some men will be passing through depression, and then their expression might be total withdrawal to every pleasurable activities and all of that. And then you can see easy irritability becomes cardinal. If previous things that would not irritate your spouse or your brother or a male gender around you, now those things now irritate him easily. Is becoming progressively less tolerant and all of that. Then that should raise a red flag to
Sir, please, for the sake of the people listening, people tend to throw around this word depression anyhow. Some accept it, oh, I'm depressed, or some reject it, God forbid I'm not depressed. So what is depression?
Okay, I will call it clinical depression. Of course, just like what you rightly said, people loosely use the word depression but for clinical depression, there are criteria that a person must meet before the clinician will say, okay, this person is clinically depressed. One of my most important of those criteria is, okay, withdrawal to self, loss of interest in pleasurable activities, and then, okay, it can be maybe loss of sleep or sleeping too much, a lot of sleep and all of that. And then feeling progressively sad. This person is just sad in the midst of many things that should make anyone happy, and then he's sad. So the person meets those clinical criteria, and then we say this person is clinically depressed, which can now be categorized as, okay, mild, moderate, or severe forms of depression. Of course, in severe cases, when we now have suicidal ideations or suicidal thoughts, or even attempting suicide, which that now makes it a severe forms of depression.
Thank you very much for that, sir. So what are some unhealthy coping habits men should stop normalizing, like excessive drinking, gambling, isolation that you're talking about, even the overworking as well, or even simply refusing to talk?
Okay, I'm happy you mentioned them, that they are negative coping strategies. Of course, men drinking, in fact, even drinking will reduce your ability to cope with life stressors, not just coping with stressors generally. And then, of course, doing well at the long run in your mental health. So, excessive drinking is a negative coping mechanism or strategy to managing our mental health. Going into substance abuse, living very high risk behaviors or risky behaviors, those are negative coping strategies. And then, of course, men can now pick up positive coping strategies like exercising, going to the gym, engaging in sporty activities, going through religious activities, socializing, not allowing Saturdays to go and say, okay, it's just for women that should go for weddings. So men now participating in social function activities and engaging in religious activities, that will help their mental health, and then that will help them to cope more positively.
Sir, please, I want you to kind of throw light on the importance of managing your mental health, because we've had personal experiences even with close male figures around us, and we're trying to tell them about mental health. It always seems or looks as if we're saying that something is wrong with them, that they are sick or they are not okay. Why do people try to stigmatize mental health as being bad?
Yeah, it's funny that people stigmatize men. The analogy I'm going to give is the fact that you can't buy a brand new car and use the car for 40 years without servicing the engine or replacing any of the parts.
Yes.
Our brain has started working right from cradle up till the last day that will be on earth, and then we wouldn't expect that organ not to be maintained. So everybody should know that what makes the totality or the entirety of our existence as humans human being is our brain. The brain practically controls everything about us.
Yes.
Even while we are sleeping, the beautiful dreams we are having, they still from this same brain. So the brain needs to be maintained. If there's any organ you should not lose, you shouldn't lose your mind.
Yeah.
So in doing this, we need to now actively discuss and practice positive, healthy coping skills or things that will help us to be able to maintain our mental health. As simple as discussing with someone, just sharing your experiences, looking for trusted people around you, to a therapist or a counselor, either religious counselor or social counselor, discussing your issues with them, not necessarily because they have the solutions to it, but the act of discussion alone reduces the intensity of anybody's problem by more than half. So that helps our mental health in the long run, and nobody should stigmatize him or herself for seeking help, because we are all at one stage of the spectrum or the other. We are all at one part of the spectrum or the other, and then everybody should be able to seek help. As simple as discussing with someone or exercising, that promotes our mental health.
And sir, if you're seeking help, just for clarity, does it mean that you're a weak person or you don't know what it takes if you are asking somebody for help?
In fact, what makes you a strong person is your ability to overcome denial. That, I actually need help. The person that is still swimming in his or her denial, whether by rationalization or intellectualization or by blaming other people, of course, that person is a weakling. What makes us to seek help is the fact that we've been able to break loose from the denial and say, hey, I'm going to get help. And that is strength on its own. Because the first most important step in any form of in psychological recovery program is your ability to take that first step, which is to seek help.
Thank you very much for emphasizing that, sir, because like we said, maybe because in the past generation, men speaking up wasn't really encouraged, but like you said, that's why now there are higher rates of men die more than women. Men commit more suicide than women. Men fall out more than women. Men are more likely to be stuck in the past and allow life pass them by than women. So that's why my next question, sir, is financial pressure is a huge burden on many men. How much does money stress affect a man's mental health, and what can he do about it?
Okay. Anyway, financial stress is not gender related. Both male and female can be under financial stress, but of course, the man being the provider in the family puts him on puts him at a higher risk of being stressed psychologically because of finances. And then we shouldn't forget our culture, whether religiously or culturally, the man is expected to provide. Yes. And the woman is expected to be taken care of. So the men, the men do live their life trying to provide for their families and then trying to provide for their spouses, and this put them under a lot of pressure, financial pressure. So how can they cope with this?
Yes.
The easiest way to cope with financial pressure is if someone is married or you are in a relationship, your spouse or your partner should be able to know what you are worth. They should be able to know what you are capable of. They should be able to know what you earn in a month.
They should.
Yeah, they should be able to know. So if all I earn in a month is 50,000 naira, you shouldn't put a bill of 500,000 naira on my head. So that is a baseline. If the first baseline that, my husband earns this amount, and then of course the man can now with his wife now strategize on how to improve the commonwealth of the family. And then of course by the spouse now coming in to also help, maybe the wife now picks up a job or picks up a business where the husband can invest, and then they can work together as family. But of course the first most important thing, most men put themselves under pressure by, I need to wear some designer clothes, I need to prove a point to someone, or I need to show my girlfriend or my spouse that I'm earning 2.5 million naira, meanwhile you are earning just 75,000 naira.
Wow.
So you put yourself under a lot of pressure that eventually will lead to a mental breakdown.
So do you think it's because society celebrates or advocates a man's worth by what he has? Do you think probably that's where the pressure is coming from? You can get the best girls if you have the best car. You can get, because that's how they mentally think. So what would you say to people like that, especially the younger ones coming up? They don't yet have this sense of knowing that, hey, you shouldn't really kill yourself. But from what social media is portraying.
Yeah, so the society should go beyond idolizing riches or mundane things over quality of life, over virtues, over the future of the person. There are a lot of people, even the so-called big people now that we all cherish, they started from somewhere. Many rich guys now today, they were not even born with silver spoon. They started from somewhere with their understanding spouses. They built something for themselves. So the younger generation should go look beyond the current financial status of someone and look into the future. Okay, what does this person have to offer? This is the means for this person, and then the next 5-10 years this person will be at this place. So that will also ease the pressure on the man. And then of course, not being in a relationship, the provision in the relationship shouldn't come only from the man. It should be both ways. Now the lady can also help in some financial obligations in the family or in a relationship, while the man also does his home part, and with that they'll be able to contribute to the commonwealth of the family, and that eases financial stress.
So who's supposed to take this first step? Should it be an honest man that is like, this is what I have, this is what I can do, this is how we can build? Or is it a woman that was supposed to ask about, okay, what do you bring to the table, how can you do this?
No, I think it should come from the man. The man should be genuine, the man should be open.
Absolutely.
The man should live his size part-time. This is who I am. I can afford to put up with the rent in Kefi or in Massacre. I should not prove a point to anybody by living in Asokoro.
Yes.
So you should be able to live your status part-time and then live your income part-time, and that's already, of course, the man's esteem is already in a good place. Men with low self-esteem will do everything to impress a woman, or do everything to lie about their financial status or their economic status. So if the man is brought up with good esteem and he has built his self-esteem, he will be able to pride himself at the stage that he is currently, and then he will be able to grow with his or her spouse.
So please, can you tell my audience, how can this mentally affect them if you are trying to live a fake life?
Okay, it puts you under a lot of pressure. It puts you under a lot of pressure.
What does that pressure do to your mental?
You are not genuine again, and then you don't forget that from what you use one lie to cover another lie and all of that, and that puts you under a lot of pressure. You lose your sleep. By the time you lose your sleep, insomnia is one of the first symptoms of psychological problems. Wow. So when you lose your sleep, you wake up in the morning, your brain is not well rested, you become easily irritable, you become cranky, you are not understanding again, you get to work, everybody is asking you what is wrong with you today, because you cannot just stay in line. And then you become restless, trying to get another means to cover up the previous lie. So it becomes a vicious cycle, and then it becomes so frustrating until the person finally breaks down mentally. And then, of course, with the psychosocial issues that will happen, especially with the era of social media, that the person can now be bullied on social media and all of that, because people can now have evidence of what the pressure he has put himself in the previous years, and then they show it in the open, and that messes up the person's mental health.
So there was something you mentioned that you're like, the first sign is insomnia, and we celebrate that in current times, that you say be young boys or even young adults, oh, I don't sleep at night, and they will not be hailing you. That is also, from what you are saying, a sign of mental weakness.
Yeah, everybody should have good night's sleep.
Yes,
in fact, staying up at night is not encouraged by any. You can do all the work during the day, and then if you are lucky that you are not in the health sector, that you have to go for night duties and all of that, you rest at night. And even if you are going for night duties, you have off days that you need to rest and for your brain to recalibrate. So we shouldn't glamorize staying up late at night. Of course, that's what's now increased the use of psychoactive substances, because people now want to stay awake at night. Okay, I want to chat with friends abroad, I want to do this and that, and then the use of psychoactive substance to stay awake now increases, and that further puts your brain under a lot of psychological stressors and pressure. And then, of course, the breaking down is inevitable at that point.
Wow, well said, sir. So I'm going to open up the lines for any calls or comments. The topic for today is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and we do have a doctor in the house, so this is the opportunity to call in. The number is 080-5682-6499. I go again, 080-5682-6499. So, sir, while we're waiting for a caller now, as friends, wives, siblings, and colleagues, how can we tell when a man is silently struggling, and what's the best way to support him? Because these men, they always like, I don't need help. They always push you away. So how will you help someone that doesn't want to be helped?
Yes, the first most important thing that we need to do is to create the ambience, create the environment.
Okay.
The man comes home tired or clogged in or withdrawn. The spouse or the sister or the person that is trying to support should create a therapeutic environment.
Wow.
The environment should be serene and conducive, that the man comes in from a stressful day, the whole house is looking upside down, everywhere scattered, and then the same you now is asking, oh sweetheart, how can I help you today?
Because I say we should on candles.
If you have the luxury of what they can do, beautiful, it helps anybody's mental health.
Yes.
you understand? So create the ambience, and then of course that sends the first signal to the man.
Okay.
If you know that he likes to shower immediately, he comes in, you allow him do that, and then you should be able to know the timing. Timing is very important. You don't bring out discussions that are supposed to be done in the evening. You don't bring them up early in the morning when he's rushing out to go to work and all of that. So by the time we are able to create the ambience, we understand the timing, and then our tone matters in psychological intervention generally.
So how should we talk?
Your tone should be a therapeutic tone.
Yeah.
Yes, you should show empathy. You should be empathetic.
Yes, I understand you.
Oh, if it's your spouse, oh babe, I think I noticed you've been cranky lately.
What's wrong?
I hope everything is fine. I'm always there for you.
Wow.
To be able to once you share this burden, I'll be understanding to be able to go through this journey with you. In fact, thank you for all you've been doing for us and the kids, but I think it's time we talk together. Do you think there's something we need to share, or you need to share with me? So in that
Even
kind
you're
of
feeling therapeutic now.
yeah. So with that now, the man will be, okay, and I don't think there's anything, or there's nothing. I know you are a strong man now. Telling me will not make you a weak man. I'm your wife, or I'm your sister. You can confide in me. So conversation starts that way. You don't expect conversation to be robotic, or for us to have customized responses in our mind and then expect it to work. Now, okay, if I tell you, oh, is there any problem? He said, no problem. I asked him now, is there any problem? He said, no problem. Now, so what do I do again? No, we should be patient, and then we should make sure that we are also not battling with traumas of the past. We are also healed, and then we'll be able to help the next person. So,
sir, for the man listening in who says therapy isn't for me, what would you say to convince him that protecting his mind is just as protecting his body?
Okay, therapy is for everybody. Therapy is for everybody. Every human needs help. There's nobody that rejects help.
Yes.
Even if you are a multi-billionaire, you don't reject help.
Yes. Everybody
knows that at some point, a finger is joining hands with people is far better than you raising a finger yourself. So the man should strengthen up, should brace up to accept help when the time comes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. This brings us to the end of our episode, but before we wrap up, I want you to just speak directly to every man listening right now. What message would you like to leave with them? Men, over to you.
Yeah, to every man, break the silence. The first most important thing you need to do, break the silence. That has the inertial force that is holding you down. Break the silence. Talk to someone. After you've spoken to someone, talk to God. It's also therapeutic to send your requests, your burden in prayers.
Yes.
Just talk to God. It's so relieving that you have a higher power that you can push your problems to. So break the silence, speak out, speak to your spouses, speak to your support system, and then a problem shared is a problem solved.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adekunle Adesina, for your time and your amazing wisdom and knowledge. And to the men out there, I hope this episode was able to help you create that foundation foundation of what speaking out. We don't want you to lose your senses. We don't want you to be mental. Speak up and be right, and encourage other men to do that as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Adekunle.
Thank you.
All right, my city people, that's the end of our episode today. See you next week with another amazing guest and another amazing topic. See you next time. Bye.